Hey everybody, how you doing? I wanted to remind you I offer free coaching. If you've ever just wanted to try it out, see what it's about, people come to me for help on all sorts of things, dealing with bad managers, toxic employees they have to work with. They're not feeling motivated at work. They're getting managed out. They're looking for a job. They're struggling with their relationships outside of work. They are working crazy hours and they don't know how to stop. They want to have hobbies, like you name it. I am pretty sure I have coached someone on it. So I just want to remind you, if there's something you're feeling a little stuck with and you want to get some free help, no strings attached, go to lindsaylymancoaching.com/chat or click the link in the show notes here and grab some time on my calendar. There's really no catch. I just want to help however I can because I believe you have so much goodness to give. Each of us do. And the better we feel, the more we give of that goodness. So I just want to remind you that is available to you today. All right, we're going to talk about anxiety today. I've talked with thousands of people about things they're struggling with at work. And the three most common things that come up for people is some form of overwhelm, too much to do, not enough time, they're not sleeping well, they're working crazy hours. It's some form of anxiety. They are stressed, they are worried, they are anxious, they can't feel calm and relaxed and at peace. And it's also usually some form of burnout. They're really lacking in motivation. What used to excite them doesn't. They're not sure where they want to take their career. Those are kind of the three key things I see. So I'm going to touch on all those eventually through this podcast, and I have in the past. But today I want to dive a little bit deeper into anxiety and talk about if you're struggling with, I call it like kind of just that like hum. I used to have this a lot when I was working at Amazon of like, it was just constantly there, this like heaviness of I was always a little anxious because I didn't know what the next escalation was going to be. I could walk into any meeting at any time and have someone blow up about something. I could get paged at all hours of the night. I just had this constant anxiety I carried with me. And so I want to give you three things to do, the three steps to follow if you struggle with anxiety. Before I do, I think it's important to acknowledge there's a lot of things that can impact our emotions and our feelings like anxiety. And I'm not trying to discount that. And there is biological things happening in your body. There are chemicals and hormones and DNA and all types of things that can create anxiety. And if you're having anxiety at an intense rate with panic attacks or those sort of things, go and talk to your doctor. I am a huge proponent of taking medication if and when that's necessary. That's between you and your doctor. I am not trained in that. I'm not here to tell you if you have an anxiety disorder. Today, I'm going to be talking about the part of anxiety that we create from our thinking. As you know, and as I have 150 other episodes talking about this, how you feel depends on what you're thinking. If not, we all would feel the same way. Your nervous system and your biology is happening as well. But today we're going to talk about the part of your feelings that are coming from your thoughts. Those neurons in your brain are connecting, releasing chemical cascades through your body, interacting with all those other hormones and chemicals, and creating feelings. Okay, this is what I specialize in and what I help people with. So when we think of anxiety, it is a feeling. Putting the biological stuff aside that you may want to work with your doctor on, the mental part of it is really important to understand. The American Psychiatric Association defines anxiety as a normal reaction to stress. Did you catch that? It's totally normal. It's part of the human experience. And I think what happens is sometimes we use anxiety as like this buzzword and kind of this catch-all. And when you're telling yourself you're feeling anxious and you have so much anxiety, your brain is going to work to prove itself right. And it's looking for things that make us feel anxious in stressful situations. Your brain is finding them and pointing them out and making you feel more of that in your body. But remember, anxiety, it's a normal reaction to stress. But here's what happens. We tell ourselves we're feeling it all the time, and we have such a low tolerance for discomfort. So I sometimes, like, my kids will come to me struggling with something. We're getting ready for back to school, and one of my kids is going into middle school. So of course they're going to feel a little bit stressed and nervous and maybe some anxiety. But if my kid comes to me and is like, Mom, I have so much social anxiety. I just can't do this. I can't go to school. Again, I'm not a clinical doctor, but I'm wondering, is it social anxiety or is it just uncomfortable and kind of scary because it's a new thing and this is normal? And we just need to learn to increase our tolerance for discomfort. Again, I am not your physician. I cannot answer that for you, but I would encourage you to think about it for yourself. There are so many things in our lives that make it so easy to lower our tolerance of discomfort. And I love so many of these things, right? There's plumbing, there's air conditioning in a car. If I'm driving along and I'm a little bit hot, I can turn on the air conditioning. Or there's a heater. If I'm a little bit cold, I can turn on the heat. Think about if you're hungry. Food is so readily available to us. We have a very low tolerance to feel the discomfort of hunger. I know you all have snacks in your drawers at work and in the break room. Okay, side note, funny story. Okay, not funny. It's funny now that I can look back at it. I can't go into the details, but let's just say one of the unknown side effects during the pandemic when everyone left the office and was working from home, let's just say there were rat infestations in many buildings because we all had snacks in our drawers and people were not coming and going and they were coming in and getting the food. So it was so gross. I was dying when this was going on at work, but I know you've got food in your drawers. We don't have to go out and hunt and gather our food anymore. We can just go to the break room and find something to eat. We have such a low tolerance of discomfort if we're like tired. I'm like, oh, I need a Diet Coke, or we need a coffee, or we need an energy drink or something to help wake us up. Again, I love these things. Don't get me wrong. But what I want you to see is we have such a low tolerance for discomfort. Not only is it physical discomfort we have a low tolerance for, I think we have an even lower tolerance for emotional discomfort. And there are so many ways we can get out of that discomfort and feel good. And I'm not just talking about big things like drugs and pornography. It's the little things. Think back to like how we used to watch TV. You used to have to know that show was on Thursday nights at 8:00. I'm going to go and watch that show. I'm going to get one episode and then I got to wait a week to watch it. And if I miss it, I miss it. I can't record it. I can't sit down and binge watch all of it. Well, now, if it's not a whole season available, I'm out. I'm not going to watch it because I want that instant gratification of I got to know what happens. I need to continue on the storyline, right? It's just these little things that like it's emotionally uncomfortable for me not to know what happens in the next episode. Think about standing in line at the grocery store or waiting for the bus or waiting at a doctor's office. We no longer have to stand around and look at each other and be bored. We just play a game on our phone or look at social media. Or before, when we didn't know where someplace was, we would have to get out of the car and stop and ask for directions and maybe write them down. Now, we can just Google it. We can look at the satellite view and see the real life setting and look at all the things around it and pretend like we're on the street right in front of it and see what it looks like. We can read the reviews. We can look at the menus ahead of time. I am still a proponent of these things and I like these things. But what I want you to really look at is, are you choosing some of these things or whatever your flavor of comfort is over the discomfort of your emotional life. Because if that's the case, you're not going to be able to be resilient and get through hard things. You've got to build your tolerance for discomfort. Anxiety is a normal reaction to stress. It's nothing to fear. So, how do you do this? What does it actually look like? I think there's 3 steps. The first is you've got to recognize it's your thoughts creating the anxiety. Let me give you a couple examples. Let's say you were up for promotion and it didn't go through. You may be mad and angry and resentful and have a little bit of anxiety around, well, what am I going to do now? What other projects am I expected to do? Maybe you're feeling anxious because the people reviewing your document didn't understand the complexity and impact of your work, and now you're questioning everything. Makes sense. But those are your thoughts creating anxiety. Someone who doesn't have anxiety isn't thinking of it that way. They're thinking other thoughts. I'm not saying you can't think those things. One, you've just got to realize the thoughts creating it. Let's look at another example. Maybe you're a manager and you have a team member that's not performing and you need to put them on a performance improvement plan. Guess what? You're probably going to feel a little anxious walking into that meeting where you're going to have a hard conversation and lay out the plan they need to follow because they're not meeting expectations. Okay? The reason you're feeling anxious is because you keep thinking this is going to be hard. This isn't fun. They're not going to respond well. Makes perfect sense. I'm not telling you not to think that, but I want you to acknowledge the reason you're feeling anxious is because of those thoughts you have. If you went into it thinking this person 100% knows it, they deserve it, they're just playing the system, we got to get through this, you're not feeling anxiety. You're feeling frustrated or resentment or annoyed or some other emotion. Okay? Step 1, recognize the thought creating it. Let's look at another example. Maybe your manager is terrible. You've reorged, you got a new manager. They don't know what they're doing. They're maybe at your same level. They're taking credit for your work. They're not giving you very helpful feedback. It's clear they're not invested in your career. Thinking about it that way is going to make you feel some anxiety. It's okay. How about this one? You've got to give a status update to some senior leaders and you know it's not going to go well. It's bad news. And maybe you don't have a great solution to get it back on track yet and you keep thinking you should. You're going to feel some anxiety there. If those are the thoughts you have, totally okay. Another example, maybe you're a software development engineer and you're feeling anxiety at work because you keep thinking you used to be the kind of employee that potentially was getting poached a lot and you felt like you were in high demand and now you're worried about keeping your job as things have shifted. Going to be some anxiety there, okay? Step 1, you just need to recognize it's your thoughts creating it. Step number 2, I want you to honestly ask yourself if you want to keep those thoughts. And I'm here to tell you the answer is probably yeah. You don't want to feel good about some of these things, and that's okay. If you were put up for promotion and it didn't happen, be frustrated. It's okay to be frustrated that the process is stupid. Do it. You don't have to feel good about it. It's okay to feel uncomfortable. If you've got to go and put one of your team members on a performance improvement plan, guess what? Be a good person and don't ever start to feel good about that. It means you care. It means you respect them. It means it's hard and that you don't like this part of the job. That's a good thing. Let the discomfort be there. It means you're a good human being. If you have a terrible manager, don't be okay with it. It's okay to be annoyed and frustrated and anxious and worried. It means you want to be a good manager one day. You don't have to be okay with terrible managers. If you have pride in your work and you've got to go and deliver some hard news to leaders, it's okay to not be okay. Let the discomfort be there. It's okay for executives to be frustrated and mad and upset. It means you care. It means you take pride in what you do. Let the discomfort be there. If you're a software development engineer and you're worried about job stability and potentially finding a new job and maybe visa issues, don't lie to yourself and pretend everything's okay. It's okay to feel anxiety. It's okay to feel discomfort. Okay, so step 1 is you've got to be aware of the thoughts creating these feelings. And step 2, be honest with yourself if you want to keep these thoughts or not. If you don't, that's fine. Redirect your brain to some more empowering thoughts. But I think a lot of times we judge ourselves and we tell ourselves we should be redirecting our thoughts. And I want to say, no, let's stop trying to feel better about things that are terrible and hard. Let the discomfort be there. Acknowledge you don't want to change how you're thinking about this. Maybe you don't want to change it today. You may want to change it down the road. But right now, we're not okay. We're going to feel some discomfort. And the third step, you've got to allow it. You've got to go and physically feel uncomfortable. Feel the discomfort. Don't go and watch TV. Don't pick up your phone. Don't do those things that you know you can do to get out of that discomfort. Sit in it. Be in it. Increase your tolerance for discomfort. What does that look like? Sitting, taking a few deep breaths, purposely relaxing your body, and physically feeling those chemicals in your body. You know what happens when we feel anxiety? Our chest maybe feels a little tight. Maybe you get a little sweaty. You might have a rapid heart rate and feel the heaviness of your breathing. Maybe there's like a dull discomfort in your chest or your stomach aches maybe. Maybe you're going to get like a bad taste in your mouth. Maybe your mouth gets more dry or you salivate more. For me, I feel like I have this buzzing in my body when I feel anxiety. It's like there's all this energy just bouncing around in my chest and my shoulders and it can't get out. Maybe you're going to feel a little restless. Guess what? Those aren't the worst things in the world. Allow yourself to feel them. Increase your tolerance for discomfort. It's part of the human experience. The goal is not to feel good all the time. The goal is to learn how to feel. Sometimes we are going to have anxiety, but we don't need to be anxious about our anxiety. When you know how to acknowledge the thoughts creating it, how to decide if you want to keep those thoughts, and then how to allow the anxiety to be there and how to feel discomfort, that is when the game changes. Because now we're not afraid to go after those things and do the things we want to do. We're going to have the hard conversation with the employee. We're going to push back on the bad manager. We're going to hold our boundaries. We're not going to work at night. We're going to say no. We're going to go look for a new job. We're going to push for the promotion and really hold people's feet to the fire as to why it didn't happen. We're going to go and do those things that we believe are right because we're okay if there's discomfort along the way. We're not doing things trying to keep the peace and keep everyone happy and keep everyone loving us and play the political game. We're taking action from what we believe is right and what we believe should happen and is the best thing for you to be the best person you can be, as well as those people around you. Guess what? There's going to be some discomfort in that, and that is a beautiful thing. So I want you to remember, anxiety is not the demon we make it out to be. It's not this terrible, horrible, scary thing that we all need to run away from. Anxiety, it's just an emotion. You can handle anxiety. It's a normal reaction to stress. All right, my friends, you're amazing. Keep being you. You got this. We'll talk soon.